Hello, my name is Katie Vidal, and today I'm going to be talking about schizophrenia. When you think of schizophrenia, do you think of someone who has multiple personalities or in their head, or someone who thinks that they're different people? Well, this is what I used to think before I became close friends with people who deal with mental illness and decided to look more into mental illness and become more educated on it. It's important to know about schizophrenia because you never know when you're going to come across someone who deals with it or who's spreading misinformation about it. And to know more about schizophrenia, we should know how it affects the brain and what that causes, how it affects everyday life, and misinformation about schizophrenia. So first, we're going to talk about how it affects the brain. So according to the Department of Psychology of University of California of Los Angeles, schizophrenia is associated with the changes of your key systems and structures in your brain, and this is usually caused or correlated with an underdeveloped brain, whether that be in the womb or if you had a traumatic event when you were a child and you go through a traumatic event, it changes the way your brain develops, so that might have to deal with it. And it also has to deal with like neural connections. So those all affect schizophrenia, and there's not a specific cause for schizophrenia, but those may be things that deal with it. And people who deal with that usually deal with like bad memory, and people with schizophrenia deal with hallucinations, paranoia, and disrupted disordered thinking and speech. So those are all things that deal with schizophrenia and that people that schizophrenia have to deal with, and that affects daily life because people with schizophrenia, they have, most of them deal with hallucinations, and it can be any type of hallucination. However, Dr. Suprakesh Chaudhary from the Department of Psychiatry noted that it's usually auditory and hallucinations that people with schizophrenia deal with, and if there are visual hallucinations, then it's usually abstract hallucinations, which means it's like shapes and lines and colors that aren't really things pulled from reality. It's just very weird things that you can't really know what it is, but you can still have any type of hallucination. They also usually deal with intense paranoia, which means that they truly believe something from the bottom of their heart, that something is usually out to get them. So they might think that someone is following them, that they're being stalked, or that something is like out to get them, that they're going to be harmed in some way. And even though there may be facts pointing against that, they're still going to believe that, and they may realize that it is a ridiculous thing to believe, but they still have that feeling and they're still going to believe that no matter what. They might also deal with disordered speech, which means that it'll be difficult for them to put together sentences. You might not completely understand what they're saying. They might speak gibberish. They might just speak random words, stuff like that. It's just disordered thinking or speech. And these are all symptoms of schizophrenia, but that doesn't mean that every schizophrenic person is going to deal with all of these symptoms. Now we're going to talk about misconceptions about schizophrenia, and so a lot of people think that people with schizophrenia, that means that they have different people in their head, multiple personalities, but that's actually a different disorder known as dissociative identity disorder or multiple personality disorder, and that's where you have multiple people switching back and forth in your brain that you can't control. But schizophrenia is just simply people who deal with hallucinations, paranoia, and stuff like that, and you have to be clinically diagnosed with schizophrenia. The Canadian Mental Health Association says that schizo means split mind or split personality. It means split mind and not split personality, as many people take it, and split mind is supposed to be taken as split from reality, but a lot of people confuse it as split personalities, and so that might be where the confusion comes from. Another misconception is that people who are schizophrenic are very dangerous and crazy and they need to be locked away and they can't be a part of society. However, that's not true. According to Let Us Not Overlook, Journey of Schizophrenia from Prehistory to Modern Day, says that most schizophrenics are usually not aggressive or not dangerous at all, and on the small chance that they are aggressive, they're usually going to be aggressive towards themselves and not really put anyone else at danger. However, this can change because everyone is different and everyone deals with schizophrenia differently. There's different levels to it, and all that comes into play. However, most of the time they're not going to be dangerous. So now we know all of this, and we've learned what schizophrenia is actually like. Schizophrenia is very complex. It's important to know about how it affects the brain, daily life, and the misconceptions around it, because you never know when you're going to need this information and when you're going to come across someone who deals with it, or when you come across someone who's spreading misinformation about it. I'll leave you with this quote from Jonathan Harnish that says, "I have schizophrenia. I am not schizophrenia. I am not my mental illness. My mental illness is a part of me."